Have you ever heard of tree law?
In America, it is one of the most brutal and expensive laws you can break. My millionaire neighbor thought he could do whatever he wanted. He secretly cut down a 150-year-old historical oak tree in my backyard just because it blocked the view of his new swimming pool. He honestly believed he would get away with a small fine, but he had no idea I was about to use the law to take everything he owned. I have lived in my house for over 10 years. The absolute pride of my backyard was a massive, ancient white oak tree. It was planted by one of the original founders of this town. It was perfectly healthy, strong, and gave beautiful shade every summer. 1 year ago, a wealthy businessman named Richard bought the house next door. From day one, Richard wanted everyone to know he was the richest guy on the block. He demolished the old house, built a massive modern villa, and put in a huge luxury pool. One afternoon, Richard walked up to me with $1,000 cash in his hand. He looked at me and said, "Look, your old tree is blocking the afternoon sun from my pool. Here's $1,000. Get it cut down." I was shocked by his arrogance. I politely refused and told him that the tree was not for sale and would never be cut down under any circumstances. Richard turned bright red, shoved the cash back into his pocket, and muttered, "Well, suit yourself." I thought he was just annoyed. I had no idea what he was planning. 2 months later, I had to leave town for a 1-week business trip. The entire time I was away, I had this terrible, uneasy feeling. When I finally drove back home on Saturday evening, I got out of my car and literally froze. My beautiful, historic oak tree was gone. In its place was nothing but a massive stump. My entire yard was destroyed, covered in wood chips, deep tire tracks, and heavy machinery damage. Richard had waited for me to leave, hired a cheap tree service, and cut down my property. I was in complete shock. Tears were running down my face. I marched over and pounded on his front door. Richard answered with a glass of wine in his hand, smirked, and said, "Well, what is done. If you want, sue me. The court will order me to pay $500 for property damage at most." He laughed and shut the door in my face. But Richard made a fatal mistake. I did not call the regular police first. Instead, I called the most respected consulting arborist, a tree expert in the state, and a lawyer who specialized entirely in tree law. When my lawyer and the arborist arrived at my yard, they actually smiled. My lawyer looked at me and said, "Richard has absolutely no idea what he just did." You see, in many states, there's a legal rule called treble damages. This means if someone intentionally cuts down your historical tree without permission, they are legally forced to pay 3 times its actual value. And how do you calculate the value of a 150-year-old oak tree? It is not just the price of firewood. The arborist calculated the tree's age, its rare species, its environmental benefits, how much it increased my property value, and most importantly, the cost of replacing it. To transport and plant another fully mature, giant oak tree requires specialized heavy cranes, road closures, and months of engineering. The official appraisal for my single tree came out to $120,000. And because Richard did it intentionally, that number was automatically tripled. The lawsuit was now at $360,000. But we were not done yet. During the illegal removal, the heavy trucks Richard hired had completely crushed my lawn, destroyed my underground irrigation system, and cracked part of my home's foundation. My lawyer added every single detail to the claim. The total lawsuit reached a staggering $450,000. When Richard received the official court summons, his smirk vanished instantly. He literally ran over to my house, begging me to stop. He offered $10,000 in cash on the spot, then $50,000. He begged me to drop the lawsuit. I just closed the door on him, repeating his own words. What is done is done. In court, Richard's lawyers tried to argue it was an accident, but my home security cameras captured everything. The microphone clearly recorded Richard's previous threat, and the arborist's 100-page report left no room for doubt. The judge not only ruled in my favor, but he also ordered Richard to pay all of my legal fees. It turned out Richard had put all of his available cash into building his massive villa. and he did not have $450,000 sitting in his bank account. The court froze his assets, and he was legally forced to put his brand new dream home on the market just to pay my judgment. In the end, I received every single penny of my money, and my arrogant neighbor went completely broke and had to move out of our neighborhood, all because of one tree. Never, ever mess with tree law. Richard definitely learned his lesson the hard way. Do you think this punishment was fair, or did my neighbor suffer too much for just one tree? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss the craziest stories from Reddit. See you in the next video.